Have you ever noticed that your arms don't feel quite as strong as they used to when you reach for the groceries? Or maybe climbing the stairs leaves you just a little more winded than before? You're not imagining it, and it's not just aging. There's something happening behind the scenes that many people don't talk about. It's called muscle loss, and by the time we reach 60, it starts speeding up more than we might expect. Now here's the thing. What we eat plays a bigger role than most of us realize. Certain foods that seem totally harmless or even healthy can actually chip away at our muscle mass little by little, meal by meal. And the worst part? You probably eat at least one of them every single day. In this video, we're going to have an honest, friendly conversation about 7 common foods or ingredients that quietly sabotage your muscle strength after 60. We'll unpack why they do it, and most importantly, how to make simple, empowering changes so you can stay strong, mobile, and full of life for years to come. Let's start with the first one because it's something that's snuck into just about every pantry in America. Let me ask you, when's the last time you had a can of soup, a frozen dinner, or even a quick sandwich with deli meat? You probably didn't think twice, right? Well, those convenient foods are often packed with sodium, and we're not just talking about a pinch here or there. Many processed foods contain more than 1,000 milligrams of sodium per serving, and for people over 60, that's a serious problem. Why? Because excess sodium doesn't just raise your blood pressure, it also leaches calcium from your bones and increases inflammation. And when inflammation sticks around, it leads to what researchers call anabolic resistance, meaning your muscles stop responding to protein like they used to. You could eat a solid amount of protein, but your body won't rebuild or repair muscle efficiently if it's inflamed all the time. I once worked with a man named Larry, 72 years old, spry as ever, but frustrated that his strength training wasn't helping like it used to. When we looked at his meals, we found he was eating microwave meals nearly every evening. They're just easy, he said. Sure they were, but they also contained over 2,500 milligrams of sodium daily. Once we helped him cut that back by cooking simple low-sodium meals at home, guess what happened? Within weeks, he started noticing better muscle tone, less joint stiffness, and even improved sleep. It wasn't magic, it was just cutting the salt. Now let's talk about another sneaky culprit, refined sugars. I know, it's tempting to enjoy something sweet with your coffee or a little dessert after dinner. And hey, there's nothing wrong with treating yourself once in a while. But here's the catch. Sugar, especially the refined kind found in pastries, soda, and most packaged snacks, causes your insulin to spike dramatically. Over time, this repeated spike can lead to something called insulin resistance, where your body doesn't process glucose as effectively. Why does that matter for muscle? Because insulin resistance doesn't just affect blood sugar, it reduces your muscle cells' ability to absorb amino acids, the very building blocks they need to grow and repair. Even more concerning, studies show that older adults with high sugar diets lose muscle mass up to 30% faster than those with lower sugar intake. Let's put it in real terms. Imagine your muscles are like a house and amino acids are your bricks. When insulin resistance kicks in, it's like your construction crew loses access to the bricks. They're ready to build, but the supplies can't get through the gate. That's what sugar does to your muscles. Now, this next one might surprise you. Alcohol. Even just one glass of wine a night, which might feel like a harmless way to unwind, can actually interfere with muscle recovery. See, alcohol reduces protein synthesis, which is the body's way of turning the protein you eat into muscle. Studies show that just 2 drinks can reduce muscle building by over 20% for up to 24 hours. And let's not forget, alcohol also disrupts your sleep. And sleep is when most muscle repair actually happens. If your body doesn't get into that deep, restful sleep phase, it misses the window to heal and strengthen. That's especially important after 60 when the body naturally takes longer to repair itself. So far, we've talked about sodium-heavy processed foods, refined sugars, and alcohol, and how they quietly chip away at muscle health. You don't have to give them up completely, but being aware of them and making smart swaps can make a world of difference. Now that we've uncovered how some of the most common items in our kitchens could be holding us back, let's keep going. There's another ingredient that seems harmless, even trendy, but it may be doing more damage than you think. That ingredient is vegetable oil, specifically the refined kind like soybean oil, corn oil, and canola oil. Now you might be thinking, wait, isn't vegetable oil supposed to be better than butter? That's what we were told for years. But here's what most people don't realize. Not all oils are created equal, and many of these heart-healthy options are actually loaded with omega-6 fatty acids. Now, before your eyes glaze over, don't worry. We're not going down a science rabbit hole. Here's what really matters. Your body needs a balance between omega-3s and omega-6s, but most of us are getting way too many omega-6s, especially from processed vegetable oils. And when that balance gets thrown off, your body becomes a breeding ground for chronic inflammation. And as we've already talked about, inflammation is one of the sneakiest enemies of your muscles. In fact, a study in the journal Nutrition and Metabolism found that people with higher levels of omega-6 intake and lower omega-3 intake had significantly more muscle breakdown, especially in older adults. The inflammation caused by excess omega-6s triggers the body to break down muscle tissue more quickly than it can build it. Over time, that leads to weaker legs, poor balance, and reduced strength for everyday things like gardening, walking the dog, or picking up the grandkids. Let me pause here for a second and say this. If any of this is starting to feel overwhelming, you're not alone. We grew up in a time when food labels weren't so complicated. You just cooked what you had, shared meals with family, and didn't think twice about macros or inflammation. But today, even so-called healthy foods can be quietly working against us. The good news? You're already ahead of the game just by being curious. By learning what's in your food and how it affects your strength, you're taking back control. And believe me, it's never too late. Research has shown that seniors who reduce inflammatory foods and increase muscle-supporting nutrients can rebuild lost muscle even in their 70s and 80s. One study from the Journal of the American Geriatric Society found that older adults who adopted even modest dietary changes regained up to 2 pounds of lean muscle in just 12 weeks, without even stepping foot in a gym. That's how powerful food can be. So just to recap what we've uncovered so far, without listing them out, there are everyday foods and habits we barely think about that could be standing in the way of our strength. Salty processed foods, sugary treats, that daily glass of wine, and even healthy vegetable oils can slowly chip away at the muscle you've worked a lifetime to build. But don't worry, we're not stopping here. The journey to protecting and rebuilding muscle after 60 is just getting started. And next, we're going to talk about another sneaky food that may be sitting in your fridge right now, one that's often labeled as low-fat or light, but might be doing more harm than good when it comes to muscle strength and recovery. Yes, I'm talking about low-fat dairy products. That light yogurt or skim milk might seem like the healthier option. After all, we've been told for decades to avoid fat, right? But here's the truth that many folks are only now beginning to understand. When it comes to preserving muscle after 60, fat isn't the villain. It can actually be part of the solution. Let's break it down. When manufacturers remove fat from dairy, they usually replace it with sugar or starches to improve the taste and texture. So while you think you're doing your body a favor by choosing low fat, you might actually be increasing your blood sugar and spiking inflammation, the very things that damage muscle tissue. Even worse, the fat in full-fat dairy contains vital nutrients like vitamin D and omega-3 fatty acids, both of which play a crucial role in muscle health. Vitamin D in particular helps regulate calcium and phosphorus, two minerals your muscles need to contract and function properly. In fact, a 2020 study published in Nutrients found that older adults with low vitamin D levels had significantly lower muscle strength and a higher risk of falls. You see, the body needs fat, especially healthy fats, as we age. It helps regulate hormones like testosterone and growth hormone, which are both key for maintaining and rebuilding muscle. That doesn't mean you should go overboard and start eating bacon with every meal, but it does mean that the fear of fat might be holding you back from staying strong. Now let's move on to another sneaky source of muscle trouble: white bread and refined carbs. Now don't worry, I'm not going to tell you to never enjoy a slice of toast again, but it's worth knowing how these foods work in your body, especially after 60. White bread, white rice, regular pasta, these are refined carbohydrates, which means they've been stripped of their natural fiber and nutrients. That makes them digest super fast, which causes your blood sugar to spike and crash, kind of like a roller coaster. When this happens over and over, your body begins to develop, you guessed it, insulin resistance. And when your body isn't responding to insulin properly, it can't shuttle amino acids into your muscles to help them grow or recover. Worse yet, these rapid blood sugar spikes trigger inflammation, and as we've discussed, inflammation blocks muscle recovery like a traffic jam on a busy highway. Studies show that older adults who consume a diet high in refined carbs experience more rapid muscle decline compared to those who eat more whole grains and fiber-rich foods. One study from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition even found that people over 60 who replaced white bread with whole grain bread improved muscle function in just 8 weeks without changing anything else in their diet. Here's the heart of it all. Small, manageable swaps, not huge overhauls, are what truly matter. At 60, 70, or even 80, your body is still capable of amazing things. But you have to give it the right tools. Think of your food like a toolkit. If you keep handing your body the wrong tools, too much sugar, too many chemicals, not enough real nutrients, it's going to struggle to build and repair. But give it the right materials and you might be amazed at how strong, capable, and energetic you can feel again. So we've talked about those low-fat foods, how they sometimes trade fat for sugar. We've looked at refined carbs like white bread and how they spike blood sugar and drain your energy. We've seen how even common habits like choosing the wrong oil or eating too much sodium can stand in the way of muscle health. And you might be thinking, okay, I see where this is going, but what can I actually eat? What should be on my plate if I want to stay strong? That's a great question, and we'll absolutely get to those helpful, delicious options. But first, there's one more common food you might be eating regularly that can quietly chip away at muscle strength, and it's one many people assume is harmless, even though it can wreak havoc on your body's ability to stay energized and strong. It's artificial sweeteners. Yep, those little pink, blue, or yellow packets that seem like a safe alternative to sugar. Maybe you add them to your morning coffee, or maybe they sneak in through your sugar-free yogurt, diet soda, or even those healthy protein bars. They're everywhere, and they're marketed as a smart choice, especially for those watching their weight or blood sugar. But here's the surprising truth. They could actually be harming your muscles. Now, I get it. If you're trying to avoid sugar, these sweeteners feel like a safer bet. But studies show they might do the opposite of what they promise. Research published in the Journal of Gerontology found that older adults who regularly consumed artificial sweeteners, especially aspartame and sucralose, had poorer muscle performance and lower grip strength than those who didn't. Why? Because these sweeteners can disrupt the gut microbiome, the community of bacteria in your digestive tract that controls everything from inflammation to nutrient absorption. When your gut health is thrown off, your body struggles to absorb the protein, vitamins, and minerals your muscles need to stay strong. On top of that, some studies show these sweeteners confuse your metabolism, causing blood sugar to spike even though there's no real sugar involved. It's like tricking your body into a false alarm, and when this keeps happening, your system goes haywire. I once spoke to a vibrant woman named Gloria, 66 years old, who drank 2 diet sodas a day and used artificial sweeteners in everything from her coffee to her homemade pudding. She thought she was being careful, but she was also dealing with constant fatigue and slow recovery from simple things like weeding the garden or vacuuming. We cut out the sweeteners and replaced them with small amounts of raw honey and stevia from the plant, not the processed kind. Within a month, her energy lifted and her muscles didn't ache the way they used to after light activity. It's not about being perfect. It's about being aware. These tiny things, sweeteners, oils, refined carbs, they seem so small in the moment, but over time they quietly wear down the body's ability to hold on to strength. And here's what's so hopeful about all of this. Muscle loss after 60 isn't a life sentence. It's not just part of aging that we have to accept. Yes, sarcopenia, the gradual loss of muscle mass, is real, but it's not inevitable. In fact, according to the National Institute on Aging, people in their 60s, 70s, and beyond can rebuild lost muscle with the right nutrition and gentle resistance exercise. The key is knowing what's helping you and what's holding you back. Think about it like tending a garden. If you plant seeds but don't water them, or if you dump in too much chemical fertilizer, the plants won't grow. Your muscles are the same. They need nourishment, care, and the right environment. Once you stop feeding them things that disrupt the process and start giving them the fuel they need, they'll respond beautifully. So if you've ever looked in the mirror and felt like your arms aren't as firm or your legs don't have the same power as they used to, know this. You're not weak and you're not broken. Your body is simply reacting to the food and habits it's been given. And now that you know better, you can do better, step by step, meal by meal. You've stuck with me this far, and that already says something about your determination to feel your best. So many people never stop to ask what's really causing their fatigue, their weakness, or their slower recovery. But you have, and that's something to be proud of. We've uncovered the truth behind hidden sugars, inflammatory oils, sneaky sweeteners, and other silent saboteurs. And from here, the path forward gets even clearer. Because now, it's time to focus not just on what to avoid, but on what to add to your plate to build real, lasting strength from the inside out. Let's keep going, because there's one particular nutrient-packed food that often gets overlooked, but can be one of your best allies for restoring muscle and energy after 60. That food is legumes, specifically beans, lentils, and chickpeas. Now, you might be wondering how something so simple and humble could be a powerful muscle protector, but stick with me because this one food group packs a punch, especially for those of us in our 60s and beyond. Legumes are rich in plant-based protein, fiber, iron, magnesium, and potassium, all nutrients that support muscle repair, nerve function, and sustained energy. They're also low in saturated fat and naturally anti-inflammatory, which makes them perfect for aging bodies. But what really makes legumes special is how complete they are for rebuilding and maintaining muscle, especially when combined with whole grains like brown rice or quinoa. According to a study in the Journal of Nutrition, Health and Aging, older adults who regularly consumed legumes had greater lean muscle mass, better grip strength, and lower levels of inflammation markers than those who didn't. That's no small thing, because after 60, your body starts to lose as much as 3 to 8% of muscle mass every decade. And that process speeds up if your diet is lacking the right fuel. I met a man named Joe during a wellness group at the local recreation center. Joe was in his early 70s, and he told me he didn't eat beans because they just didn't seem like a protein food. He thought if it didn't come from a steak or a chicken breast, it wouldn't help him build muscle. But after adding a hearty lentil stew twice a week and a simple black bean salad to his lunches, his stamina began to improve. He said walking up the stairs didn't feel like a chore anymore. And he even started doing light gardening again, something he hadn't enjoyed in over a year. Legumes are easy to prepare, incredibly affordable, and versatile. You can toss them into soups, stews, stir-fries, or just mix them with a little olive oil and herbs. They're proof that strong nutrition doesn't have to be expensive or complicated. And when your muscles are working harder to stay strong, giving them slow-burning fuel like beans and lentils makes all the difference. But there's more to the story, because even the best foods in the world can only take you so far if you're missing out on hydration. That's right, something as simple as water can be the silent supporter or destroyer of your muscle health. And after 60, your sense of thirst becomes less accurate. That means many older adults are mildly dehydrated every single day without even realizing it. Dehydration doesn't just make you feel tired or dizzy. It actually makes your muscles more prone to cramping, weakness, and injury. Muscle tissue is made up of nearly 75% water, and when you're low on fluids, your muscles struggle to contract properly. That's why even mild dehydration can make your legs feel heavy or make you feel like you've aged overnight. And the tricky part? Many common foods we've already talked about, like salty snacks, alcohol, and artificial sweeteners, pull even more water from your body. It's a double whammy. They harm your muscle health directly and leave you more dehydrated. I'll never forget this moment with Dolores, a lovely 69-year-old woman who thought she was doing everything right. She ate her veggies, stayed active, avoided sugar, but she only drank about 1 glass of water a day. The rest of her fluids came from tea or diet soda. When we slowly added more water into her day, just an extra glass with breakfast, one with lunch, and one in the afternoon, her strength and energy improved dramatically. Her joint pain reduced, and her nighttime leg cramps practically disappeared. It's such a simple shift, but one that gets overlooked all the time. Even a small bump in your water intake, just 6 to 8 cups a day, can help your muscles work better, reduce soreness, and improve your balance. It's like giving your body the oil it needs to run smoothly. So now we've walked through the foods that quietly chip away at your strength, those high sodium meals, refined sugars, artificial sweeteners, inflammatory oils, and processed carbs. But we've also seen the powerful role that healing foods like legumes and water can play in restoring your body's resilience. If you're sitting there thinking, well, that's a lot to change, I want you to remember something important. You don't have to do it all at once. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is progress. One less sugary snack here, one more glass of water there. Swapping that low-fat yogurt for a full-fat one. Adding some lentils to your soup. Every single step counts. Your muscles are listening, even if you don't see it right away. And you know what? You deserve to feel strong. You deserve to stand up with confidence, walk with ease, and do the things you love without worrying about weakness or wobbly legs. It's not too late, not by a long shot. So if you found any of these insights helpful, or if any of them gave you that aha moment, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Maybe there's something you've already changed in your diet that's made a difference for you. Or maybe today's the day you take that first step. And hey, if you're enjoying this kind of helpful, down-to-earth guidance for living your healthiest life after 60, be sure to like the video and hit that subscribe button. That way you'll never miss out on simple, powerful ways to protect your strength and energy, no matter your age. Because here's the truth, aging is inevitable, but decline is optional. Let's make these years the strongest, most vibrant ones yet. You've got this. Soon see you in the next video.